welcome back everyone. Now I hope that you guys are having a lot of fun and getting a lot of interesting insights from all of the sessions so far. Now we're only halfway through the day, which is a good thing, and we have a lot more content to cover throughout the rest of the day. We also have a lot more activities planned for you, so be sure to check them out at the agenda page on the L&D website. Now, for our upcoming session, it is time for companies and individuals to embrace the upskilling imperative. Now, making deliberate, significant investments in learning will make sure that organizations and employees alike will have the knowledge, the skills, and the capabilities needed to work effectively in a digitized, automated world. Now, this is going to be spoken about by two excellent gentlemen we have with us today, and they are none other than David Maiolo, who is the Learning Transformation Lead at Bondigo and Adelaide Bank. And we also have David Madisson, who is the Regional VP from EdCast. And the David duo will be sharing with us on how the adoption of technology has supported them in sustainable growth of the business and also in digital transformation. So without further ado, let's invite both Davids to join me. David, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, we're really excited to hear from you, and specifically on upskilling. And I hope you guys are able to take some of the questions from the floor as well. I'm going to pass the time over to you, and I can't wait for your session.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. And David, number one, fantastic first name. And number two, you've actually been on quite a transformational learning journey. And I wanted to start by recognizing some of Bondigo and Adelaide Bank's achievements. In the first 90 days, you had over 80% of your users log on to the platform. And from month to month, you have about 50% of your users that are active, absolutely smashing the benchmark. So well done. And I'm sure you're going to cover how you got there by the use of technology, but I thought it might be useful for the audience to get a better understanding about you and what's happening at Bondigo and Adelaide Bank.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you, David. So as was already mentioned, I'm the Learning Transformation Lead for Bondigo and Adelaide Bank. So over the last 18 months or so, I've been focused on how the bank can transform its learning ecosystem and really start to improve the way learning is delivered across the group. And in the last 9 months or so, I've been working closely with EdCast and David Madisson as one of our partners to assist in the delivery of that transformation. So just to provide you, before I continue, with a little bit of background of the organisation, in case you're not familiar, Bondigo and Adelaide Bank is one of Australia's largest retail banks. We offer a full suite of financial services. We have over 7,000 employees working both remotely and on-site across Australia. We currently service over 2 million customers through our combined network of brands. And Bondigo Bank is our largest company grouping, and it's often ranked as one of Australia's most trusted brands.
David, you mentioned some of the challenges. What are the challenges that you're facing from a learning perspective at Bondigo and Adelaide Bank?
Yeah, David. So obviously, being an organisation that operates in a highly regulated environment, as I mentioned, we've got multiple brands and over 7,000 employees throughout Australia. The ability to educate and upskill our employees comes with a wide variety of challenges. Just as an example of some of those, if I think about the pace and reach of learning, so one of the questions, and the challenges we have is how do we reach all of those employees so we can upskill them, particularly now when we've got a large proportion of them working from home. And how do we keep learning up to date with the huge amount of change that our company and the industry faces? And in most cases, we don't have the luxury to spend months creating a learning module or rolling out workshops across the bank. So our employees, they need information fast, and we need to be able to deliver it quickly. And in terms of learning culture, the amount of regulation in financial services means that this, historically, much of our focus has been geared towards compliance and mandatory learning. So over the years, we've developed what I suppose like to think of as a culture of training rather than one of learning. So, generally staff get told what they have to learn. And often with that comes the form of, lengthy, sometimes boring e-learning modules. And that has meant that staff, in the past, they haven't really been engaged with learning. Generally, they wait to be assigned something. And instead of taking a proactive approach to develop themselves, they sort of sit there, wait for their leader or someone else to assign it to them. And in terms of complexity, we've grown as a company, and the way we've grown as a company and the workplace silos that have developed over time, we've found that there's a huge variety of legacy content that's been scattered across the company in different systems and platforms. And usually that comes without appropriate metadata and indexing. So learning's been really hard for people to find. And when they did find it, often it's out of date and not actively being managed. And finally, we had a limit. We've got limited data related to what people are learning and what they're searching for and what they're looking for when it comes to learning. So this is especially the case if they did any learning outside of our learning management system. So data capture that we've been focused on historically has mainly been around tracking completion of compliance-based learning or attendance on workshops. So David, they're just some of the challenges I identified and, as I mentioned, been working to address.
Yeah, David, a lot of other enterprises that we speak to and our other customers, they echo the same sentiment, especially over the last 2 years as we've head into hybrid ways of working. Now, with all of these challenges, where did you want to take learning at Bondigo and Adelaide Bank? What were your aspirations?
Yeah, so we had a number of aspirations that I defined by trying to work out what our employees, leaders, and our subject matter experts were needing really to support learning in the bank. And so you brought up the slide. You can see these on the right-hand side, and shortly I'll talk through these in a little bit more detail. But to make a shift, firstly, we needed to reinvent the learning brand within the bank. So we worked not only to improve the capability of our learning and organizational capability function, of which I'm a part of, but we also initiated the concept of BenU. And BenU is our take on a corporate university. It represents both a learning brand and a philosophy of learning that aims to make learning more engaging. It aims to make it easier for people to consume learning as part of someone's day-to-day work. And it's really about helping to drive a culture of learning every day to support people's professional development as well as their personal growth. So as a learning capability function, we started to do things like enhancing our learning design standards and working more with external partners to beef up our learning catalog. And we developed a range of different comms strategies to promote a greater focus on getting people to start learning every day. But we knew that on its own, that really wasn't going to be enough to make a dramatic shift, which is why I moved towards introducing a learning experience platform to the organization to try and deliver a more contemporary approach to learning. So in late November, we launched, the EdCast LXP as my BenU to be a key enabler of learning and our BenU strategy.
And of all of these aspirations, how did the LXP, or where did you focus your efforts so that the LXP and technology made the biggest impact?
Yeah, so thanks, David. The biggest thing that was consistently being called out across the board was that there were just too many places to go for people to access their learning. So for example, ULearn, which is our LMS, was where people went for their compliance training and workshops. We also introduced LinkedIn Learning to help people develop themselves across a whole broad range of skills. Individual business areas have their own learning portals and platforms like SharePoint that they use to publish courses and information. And we've got numerous other sites and portals that help manage things like CPD and process training and various updates. So one of the biggest benefits for us was really to use the EdCast platform allowed us to start to aggregate content in a way that we haven't been able to before. So now we can pull learning from all of these different sources, or a variety of different sources, I should say, directly into MyBenU, as well as we can bring free content from the web. So this has really enabled us to set MyBenU up as a front door to learning, and that's the way we've been promoting it. And it's been one of the draw cards of MyBenU for our staff and leaders, that they can go to one place for all their learning. And also because we've integrated
sorry, David.
That's right. Yeah, because we've integrated MyBenU with our LMS, employees can also go to one place for their assigned learning as well, which really helps them keep on track of any mandatory content.
Yeah, I really love the language that you use here in terms of creating a single front door to learning. It really simplifies and improves the learner experience. We often hear about the creator economy. So I guess in my personal life, this is where we're accessing tools like TikTok or YouTube to teach us how to do things in our own lives, whether it be changing a light bulb, looking after our kids, how to use certain functions in your car. What sort of tools, or how are you enabling the creator economy at Bondigo and Adelaide Bank?
Yeah, thanks, David. So another benefit that we found when selecting EdCast as a platform and doing our due diligence around sort of which platform, which vendor we decided to go with, was we found that EdCast had very simple content building options. This is because, one of the reasons for that is it gives a lot of flexibility with permissions, and we can quickly combine a range of different learning assets across the site. So now it's really easy for us to provide a much broader range of subject matter experts throughout our company with access to build and contribute to content on the central learning platform. So we can build content and publish it a lot quicker, so it can be consumed by others faster. And because it's easier to build and package learning, we can very easily publish a single asset or curate that learning into different pathways, journeys, and channels. So the content creation features also align really well to one of the primary design principles I've really been trying to instill on my venue, and that's the creation of, it's probably been talked about a lot today, but the creation of small bite-sized content. Content that can be easily found and consumed by learners. And so not only is it easy to create that learning, and it sort of speaks really well to, or the platform's set up to drive small bite-sized learning, but it also allows us to mandate things like adding metadata and search tags. So when people do try to find it, if it's not easily visible, it is easy to find via the search features. And in this example on the slide, you can see a few, got a couple of 2-minute smart cards related to links visible, and they've been created to help educate people on one of our core banking systems. So where previously we've found it difficult to educate large groups of employees on how to complete non-standard transactions on that system, now we can really create these short, sharp learning assets that employees can easily find, and learn how to complete tasks and transactions on the go. And they're getting a lot of traffic. So as our employees are becoming more familiar with the system, and these assets can also be really easily shared with individual learners and different groups on the platform.
Yeah, thanks for these insights about content creation and micro-learning at Bondigo and Adelaide Bank. It's a really important part about the democratization of learning. What else are you doing at the bank to put the learner in the driver's seat?
Yeah, so I mentioned we're working towards, building a culture of learning that's more proactive and built around self-discovery. So one of the key features of EdCast that we're using to drive this, or another key feature, I should say, the culture of learning, is the Discover tab. So the Discover tab allows us to create really engaging visuals, and you can sort of see on screen, it provides that Netflix style look and feel. So we can showcase learning and topics of interest that we want to promote. And because of the flexibility of the platform, we can quickly rearrange those channels, and we can, adjust branding and imagery to keep the page interesting and up to date. And we've set up a variety of carousels, which is sort of the name of the rows, as you call them, on different topics. And you can see In Focus as an example of one that's constantly rotating, as well as a Lead Ben carousel shown here, which is about our leadership development options and programs. But we've also got carousels dedicated that you can't see here, but are dedicated to building digital skills, sales and service, and ones for specific roles and departments. And another design principle I've also worked to instill is that we don't often hide content on the platform. And we're also moving away from enforcing that digital learning be done in specific order, because to my mind, if you start locking things down and mandating prerequisites, you can really start to annoy learners, and it tends to stifle that curiosity and exploration and just-in-time learning. So now, due to those principles and the way we're building, employees have greater visibility and choice as to what's on offer, and they're not as restricted by how they engage with content.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's amazing what you've built here. I spoke earlier about the engagement stats that you've had on the platform. You've got thousands of users actively using the platform from month to month. How do you track their activity, and what do you do with the insights that you derive from that reporting?
Yeah, so we use look, the EdCast doesn't provide some of the features of a full-blown learning record store, but it does have the ability to give us a much richer data set than we previously had, particularly as we're now starting to pull data from a variety of different sources. So EdGraph, or Domo, which is the LXP's reporting tool, has a lot of out-of-the-box reports and dashboards. So we can quickly start to gain insights into things like the most popular content, the most popular channels, top search terms, and how many employees, as you mentioned, are actively engaged with the platform. So we're starting to track these things. We're developing our own dashboards and our own data sets, and it can get a little bit tricky to learn to begin with, but now we're starting to get our head around it. The reporting platform is really, really flexible. Just to demonstrate just a simple day-to-day example of how we've started to use, as you mentioned, the data and information that we've got at our fingertips. So earlier this year, we found when looking at popular search terms that our branch staff were starting to search for how to complete non-standard account opening processes. So I worked with the learning lead who is responsible for that content on making it more visible and easy to find on MyBenU. And we also searched for SharePoint pages that related to that content to improve its linkages to MyBenU. So as a result of knowing that search term, we started, and making those adjustments, we started to see consumption of non-standard account opening material increase quite dramatically. And it's now become one of the most popular topic areas on the site. And we received a range of anecdotal feedback from learners that content and information on non-standard account openings now much, much easier to find through MyBenU. And we're also starting to see trends in what people like to view and the type of content they're drawn to. So right now, the most popular learning tends to be on our core banking systems, but our employees are also being drawn to some of the more personal topics that we've launched, like career development and live events. And I had Learnapalooza on as a channel that you saw there before. And that's another example. So for us, it's great. It's really just about getting people interested in the platform at the moment. And as more content's developed, we'll start to focus more on adding transformational learning. And we expect to see some of those trends and data shifting as we present different areas of focus for the bank.
Yeah, I love that enterprise visibility and equipping you with, I guess, the tools to take action on those insights and really formulate what your content strategy is going to be based on the information that you're pulling from the analytics.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a fairly new journey for us, but hopefully that gives people on the call some solid insights as to what we're working towards and how it's helped us. And we've been able to present some information that people found useful and could resonate with.
Awesome. Great, David. Was there any? Yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. We can open it up to a couple of Q&As whilst we've got the time.
Yeah.
Is any posted, David, in that chat box? No. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, David. We really appreciate it. It's amazing the work that you're doing at BenU, and a real testament of how technology can enable upskilling at scale to build a future-ready workforce. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, David Madisson and David Maiolo. It was definitely a really good back and forth, and specifically on how technology comes into play when it comes to learning. And I think they were very tangible examples, and that's definitely something that we can all take away in our own learning in our own organizations as well. I hope you guys enjoyed that particular session, because I definitely did. Before joining for our next session, now please do not forget to participate in the leaderboard contest and earn some points. Now, I've seen some people already racking up some really, really intense points on the scoreboard. So if you're a little bit behind, you want to catch up right now. Up next as well in our L&D agenda for the day, we do have a fireside chat on an outcome-focused L&D strategy. So if you guys are joining for that particular session, I will see you there. For the rest of you, I will see you shortly.